Anyways, I'll get started officially, man. I don't want to keep wasting
All
your
good.
time or anything. Um, so I guess the first question, obviously you're from Hawaii. I listened to you with the Aki's podcast, which was really cool. Your dad kind of got you into it. It wasn't really a question. Um, how did you decide to, like, what point in time did you decide to, like, really, or did it happen gradually, kind of just like push everything to the next level?
I think it's kind of like my nature, I guess. I get bored quickly, and I don't. I guess I'm not very sentimental about like accomplishments or anything. To where like I'm never like, okay, that was. I'm always just looking at the next thing. I'm like, okay, so what's next? What haven't I done? Like, how can I challenge myself to do something different or understand this better? So I think I mean, since the first day my dad put a mask on me, I've always kind of been that way. Which was like, I was
Yeah.
probably like 3.
Okay. Yeah, it's like my friends said, well, I live on an island, so what else is there to do? Like my buddies that I'm like, how did you get started in spearfishing? They're like, yeah, bud, like that's it. That's all there is to do.
Yeah, especially
Um,
when you're a kid on the North Shore of Oahu, it's like you have waves all winter, but summertime's flat.
right.
So what are you gonna do? I still played sports and stuff like that, but to me it was just so exciting getting a piece of wilderness. You always have that with the ocean.
Oh yeah, for sure. I kind of totally relate as far as you say you're never satisfied, basically, right? Like
Mhm.
I think that's what makes people go 100% and do great things like what you're doing is that the type A personality, I guess, you're just never satisfied. You're always looking for the next thing. And it's like, it kind of leads me to my next question because it puts a pretty big burden sometimes on your family life
Mhm.
because your wife's like, am I not enough? Because you're always wanting to go, um, how do you kind of, especially with that being your job, how do you try to balance that, your family life and then being a professional surfer, professional diver?
Yeah, that's what it is, really. It's balance. We we don't buy any kind of meat from stores or anything. So if food's getting low, I go spearfishing or I go do a bow hunt or something. So it's like it has a very nuts and bolts benefit to the household. And then yeah, I mean I guess I'm a professional surfer, but I do a lot of other things like the value, I guess, or how the companies I work with value what I give back is kind of a holistic view of water oriented stuff. So it all, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Anyway, that's my argument.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I totally understand that. Yeah, it's like, well, I got a whole freezer full of food. Like, yeah, that's why I guess goes along with being selective. Like, I don't try to, when you go out diving, I'm usually one of those guys that just has like one fish in mind, and if I see it, cool, I'll take it. If I don't, then I just swam around in the kelp forest for the day, and it was pretty awesome. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, that's my biggest thing for my wife is saying like, well, we're getting low on food. Let me go diving again. You know, it works.
makes sense.
Yeah, it's a solid argument. And so like you mentioned some of the groups you work with, like what are your main projects you're doing right now?
Well, I got all kinds of projects actually. So something that we're about to launch is I'm doing it with the website The Inertia, and it's Mark
Uh-huh.
Healey's Guide to Heavy Water. So we filmed a lot of stuff, and basically it's kind of like almost like one of those master class formats, and going through like the mindset, the preparation, um, making a game plan, and training, diet, all of that stuff. But trying to share what's taken me 30 years to learn the hard way with people so they can kind of fast forward their learning process. So that's going to be coming out in the next couple weeks, it looks like. And then also next week, I'm going to be launching a YouTube channel. So it's actually like got some good spearfishing stuff for at least the first 4 episodes. So that's going to have it's going to be strike missions with Mark Healey. So it's just heading out to where the waves are or the fish are, and island hopping and traveling, and some informational stuff. So basically whatever I get asked on Instagram the most, I'm going to try to cover and give people some insight.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. And you were doing some conservation stuff too, right? Like projects you were doing, things like that with?
Yeah, I'm kind of like stick and move as far as conservation stuff. So I've worked with like shark tagging and tracking in the past. I try to work with conservation nonprofits and other nonprofits like Waves for Water and stuff like that, kind of like on a situation by situation basis. To me, in my opinion, I think that most nonprofits, especially environmental ones, are a total scam. Like you look at these things and, the amount of bureaucracy and red tape and how much people pay themselves at some of these things is a joke, I think. And so whenever I have the ability to funnel some funds or assets or shed some light on any one thing, I really look at like, okay, how is this physically going to affect a change? Like, I'm not going to go fund something that like, or help push something that's like, oh, artwork's going to change the world. Like, no, I want to see a beach that has 15 less tons of trash on it when we're done with this. Those are the things that I'm attracted to.
So kind of like 1 degree of separation, like you're more like hands-on as far as like, I want to see it rather than pay money and like how someone would donate to like Greenpeace or something and just, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing the right thing,
Right. Yeah. I want to see, basically, I mean, I feel like conservation things almost have to be like, you have to have a good pitch for a project. The same way as if you're going to go get funds from a company, like say, I want to do this expedition and I want to film it. Here's the pitch. Can I get some funds that help? Like, I think that information should be provided, and it should be in detail of what people want to accomplish with the help that they're getting. Not just a drop in the ocean and you don't know where those assets went at the end of the day.
Right. I think, it's funny too with social media. I think you're totally right on the money with a lot of the nonprofit stuff. It's like, oh, we might make a profit this year. Let me pay myself some more so that we won't make a profit. Like, it just seems super shady. You know what I mean? Like, it gets so shady, and it's just, if you don't mind, like, what are some companies that you work for that you feel like are pretty good companies, I guess, as far as conservation goes, or do you have one company?
So I try to, for the most part, to stick to local projects because, I really believe, I'm down to help all kinds of stuff, right? But I'm a big believer in that phrase, you tend to the part of the garden you can reach. So if everybody is tending to what's in front of them and not trying to take on the world's problems and boil the ocean all at once, I think that's a far more effective approach. So Nakamakai is, they take youth in Hawaii and introduce them to the ocean, and it's a really good organization. So I just bought a bunch of dive masks for them because that's like one of my pet peeves is like people being introduced to diving or the underwater world with bad masks. Because it's like if you put a fogging mask that's leaking on a kid, the odds of them giving it a second chance is like so small. And I feel like so many people have a bad first experience because it's claustrophobic and it's weird enough already. You don't need a leaking mask. So like Nakamakai is a great organization. They work with all kinds of youth. They work a lot with youth on the west side of the island, which is like very low income area. And some of these kids are, they're homeless. So how are they going to feed themselves? Like if you can, the idea is through that is like if you can empower somebody to like be able to feed themselves when they're homeless in Hawaii, then you check off one thing off the list that they have to worry about, them and their family. Like then they can worry about getting themselves out of the situation afterwards. But if you're always worried about where your next meal is going to come from, it's hard to make any progress. So Nakamakai is a great one. The Hawaii Junior Lifeguards is one I try to help out a bit. Sustainable Coastlines Hawaii, I did a signature watch with Braemont, which is a company out of the UK, and they're cool enough to, through the sales of that, donate $10,000 for a beach cleanup on the island of Molokai, because it's an area on the windward side where a lot of open ocean, fishing, commercial fishing trash, just like nets and all kinds of crap, just pile up, and it's hard to get out there and costly. So I thought that was a really cool way to spend the money. It's like something that's not going to be taken care of by the state and has to be taken care of in another way. So funds went there. And
I think I actually heard you talk about that on Joe Rogan, I think, about that part of the coastline on Molokai that gets all this shit, just seems to filter right in there.
Yeah, and Lanai too. They might have been discussing that, but on all of our windward coastlines, we're getting all the stuff from Asia. It's not trash from this island. It's very apparent that it's all the kind of same fishing gear that got thrown off a boat, and shampoo bottles and stuff that you just don't find on store shelves here, but you see all the time when you go to Asia.
Yeah, so with all this stuff, like you're in diving and you're in surfing, obviously, like, and you work with both companies on both ends of the spectrum as far as diving and surfing. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like that there's a big difference between the two cultures, like with divers and surfers? I mean, most of us are the same. We do the same thing. But as far as like the industry itself.
Yeah, I think, there's definitely a difference. The dive companies operate far more like mom and pops, even if they aren't anymore. There's kind of like a pervasive mom and pop mentality that kind of, I think, inhibits growth a lot, in that there's kind of stuck in a lot of ways of thinking and as far as like messaging and imagery, and even reinvesting in the business to make it grow past a certain point. There's a lot of hesitancy always. So, And believe I don't know all the spearfishing industry and dive industry as a whole like super well, but that's my take on it. And the surf industry has got one foot in the grave and the other on a banana peel. So
the reason why I asked you that. Yeah, the reason why I asked you that specifically is like you're one of the few guys that have kind of taken both of them up to the top level, so to speak, that, you're pretty immersed in both of them. So I kind of wanted to get your opinion, because like I have my own opinions too. Like I love surfing, but to be honest with you, like I can't stand the culture sometimes, like of like being a type A personality. Like I don't necessarily like, I don't know. It seems like I just wish surfing was a little bit more welcoming, in the sense that like, and I understand localism. I'm not even talking about localism really, but just the overall vibe of like,
it's like the cool guy.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about, and it's so lame to me.
I don't want to see. I owe so much to the surf industry, and I have so many great friends that are in the surf industry, and I'm still kind of involved with it in a way, even though most of the brands I work with aren't surf industry brands. But there's an interesting thing. I mean, like surfing came from Hawaii, right? And you look at what it was like with the kapu system, which is like a rigid, essentially caste system, and there was real repercussions for breaking these different things. Like, for instance, men and women couldn't eat together. Women couldn't eat bananas. Like, there's certain fish only chiefs could eat. There's a ton of different rules. But surfing in that kapu system was pretty much the only activity where commoners and the chief class could intermingle. and women were looked at as like some of the best surfers. So it was like this incredibly like, it was the opposite. It was
Right.
a lack of
Universal.
hierarchy, you know. It was a free place. Whereas it got interesting as surfing got introduced to other parts of the world, everybody put their different interpretation on it. And so the interesting thing is what a lot of what we think is surf culture is just industry culture. That's not surfing.
Right. Right.
It's people putting their spin on it and selling product. So, I mean, I don't want the surfing industry to crash, but as far as like surfing as a whole being something that's beautiful and accessible to everybody, the industry crashing might be the best thing for it. It's
No.
like there's a Herbie Fletcher one time was in a trade show, and you know he's got Astrodeck and he's there, he's got a booth and everything, and he was saying, "See all this around you? None of this is surfing." And I was like,
100%.
That is very true. It's so on the nose, it's right in front of you, but you just get so conditioned to thinking like, I have to look like this, I have to portray that I'm part of this club or that club, when that has nothing to do with surfing.
Yeah, it's so funny you say that, because I got a big taste of that as far as I feel like when you're removed from I don't even want to say the Western society, but when you're removed from like general population, so to speak, and you're on these little islands for any amount of time, and you see these people just existing, and there's no like stickers, nobody gives a shit like what you're representing, or really it's just they're in the water because that's just what they do. It's not necessarily like trying to support anything other than like literally feeding their friends,
Yep.
And I got like my first taste of that last year or 2 years ago, where I was down on some island, not off of Guam, but like I don't know, you just spend enough time somewhere and you're like it's like a reset, and it makes you realize in its purest form, this is what this is,
Yeah, and it's amazing that like you really have to be on top of it and kind of auditing yourself. Like, why am I thinking this? Wait, is it because people have just always told me to think this way? Like, it makes you realize that, like, what is something like surfing to me? What's the first things that come to my mind? Is it a certain look or a certain clothes or a certain way of surfing? Why is that? Oh, because I've been told that's what it's supposed to be. It's
Right.
Those mental exercises are always interesting. I like them.
Well, and I feel like even in the dive industry in the last 5 years, it's kind of morphed into like the surf industry has morphed more into the dive industry. And for me, I'm like, no, get out. We want our little niche. And I guess that kind of goes along with you're saying like the mom and pop store, right? Because like that whole image is what drives the money machine. So it's in their best interest to push that. Like, I mean, I really the Rife company and the Rife people are some amazing people, so friendly and genuine. But I feel like they're like right in the middle of it because they're so popular and they're trying to hold on to that like mom and pop feel, but it's getting big, but they're like still trying to hold on to it. So
yeah, it's a tricky thing. Like, and also you have to think like, there's no such thing as unlimited growth. Where's your happy place to be, where you're still enjoying the work and making things that you're proud of?
Yeah, I mean, I did this. I kind of went through that inner dialogue a long time ago where I wanted to be like, I wanted to try to get on that big wave tour, and I was like, this is my goal. And I think I was like 20, I was in my 20s, and I was always going down to Todos or trying to find and it got to a point where it was like, I'm not even enjoying this. Like, why do I, why am I, what is the point of all this? Like, I just want to surf,
Exactly. And the
And it
big
made
wave
me
tour would make it really easy because you're not going to make money either. Like,
right.
why am I doing this?
Well, and then it was like, I just want respect from the community. And it's like, well, if you just surf, the guy, well, everybody knows who they are. Like, you all
Exactly.
recognize the same faces, you know? So
Uh-huh.
that'll take care of itself, you know? So,
Exactly.
um, I mentioned Rife, but you're a member of the Rife team, correct?
No, I've been using all kinds of stuff for the last 2 years or so. three
Okay.
years.
All right.
Yeah, so I've just been doing a lot of experimenting for a while and just using a lot of like getting into roller guns and trying to figure those things out and just I like I said, I don't like being in neutral or park. I have to be moving forward. So pretty much any given time I'm spearfishing. It's rare that I go out for a dive, whether it's swimming from shore or off my ski or off a boat. Um, there's some aspect of my gear that's completely experimental for that day. Like I'm always trying new things where it's like rig a float this way, rig a stringer that way, try a different anchor for the tagline, try a different gun, shorten the bands, lengthen the bands, different overhang with the shaft. It's or a new and different gun, just or even like how my knife is set up on my weight belt. I just am always trying to, which it can be frustrating. It's like I feel like I could
Right.
have never really done that until like I ticked enough boxes spearfishing because I've
To
always
get some
been so
credit.
maniacal. Like as soon as we're going, I'm like, need to get in the water right now, right now, right now, and you just want to do it. But you know, after you get to do enough things and you feel like you accomplish some things, you're like, you know, I'm going to spend some time either like trying to develop my gear or film or whatever it is. So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of that too. It's like with the do-it-yourself stuff where it's like, how do I make better floats? Like, how do I like better and cheaper, like not kind of buy into a lot of the industry stuff because
Uh huh.
yeah, it's nothing against the industry or anything. It's just that like I don't know, some part of me always wants to make something like bulletproof and like just make it better. Like my friend who works for Chimera spearfishing, like they have that side slip, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like I don't know if you've seen it at all.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Um, yeah, and I took it down to Baja a few times this year, and he gave me a couple of them to use, and my buddies down in Guam they were using them, and you know people always want my opinion on it, but the thing about it is yeah, it works, it's pretty cool, but more importantly for me, it's like the fact that someone took something, thought about it, came up with an idea to try to make it better. Like I respect that so much, even if it didn't work at all. It's
Yeah.
still you're gonna get there eventually one day. That's pretty awesome, you know.
Yeah, I find it pretty interesting. Like there's well, no company makes everything the best. Like
Yeah.
this company makes a fin blade that really works for you. This one makes a fin pocket. This one makes the gun that works for you. This one makes a better tagline. This one makes a better float. And it's interesting. I think that um, certain when you look at it that way, there's certain expensive items that are totally worth the money. But I feel like where people are losing out on is that like mid-range kind of equipment that just craps out or breaks or it's just
Yeah.
not the best. So you're like almost there to get a quality product, didn't quite pull it off, and then you're just dealing with a pain in the butt forever. And then a fish of a lifetime comes and like the flopper shears off when you shoot it or something, you know, because you got a cheap shaft.
Oh yeah. Yeah, or there's like basically a really cheap line inside your float line. Snaps like a,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Yeah, I've seen that firsthand, my buddy, which was kind of what led me to like build all my own stuff because I was like, I know that if I see the fish of a lifetime, I'm gonna hit this thing and it's all up to me. I know my equipment's gonna be good.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I feel like too when you start like messing around with your own stuff, you know your stuff so well, and like it helps you just understand the whole process, the whole thing all together. Like I see people put like, oh, I've got 2,000 pound Spectra, and I've got this and I've got that, but it's like, but then you have you know, a crimp that fails or whatever at like 100 pounds. So it's kind of completely useless unless you have everything in that system that's like beefed up, you know?
Yeah. You can't get lazy about that. And the thing is like I totally was, but I've had failures enough times that just stung so badly that every time that happened, I got like more and more into my gear and checking things out. And still, man, I like a couple months ago, I shot a wahoo that was I had 400-pound test, a slip tip, everything. And this thing ran and dragged my buoy a bit, and the line broke. And I didn't have anything left at the end, so it was like it must have broke at the crimp where the loop was attached to the tagline. I'm like, I never ever have crimp failures. I'm like, what happened? Did like a knife hit it on the boat? Or like, I still have those things happen even when I'm careful.
Right.
So it's all the more reason to be on it, because if you're not careful, it's going to happen all the time.
Yeah, I actually had a really good conversation with Chris Coates last week. And
I talked to him a bit. That guy's a wealth of information.
Holy shit, man. Like, it totally changed the way I thought about a lot of stuff. And the audio is not real great. And this isn't me pitching like my podcast at all, but there was some things where I was like, are you serious? Like, he's like, just if you have accuracy issues, change your shaft first thing. Just change the shaft and see. And then he explains like slip tip versus, flopper, because he likes to shoot with a double flopper. He makes fun of all us California guys with our giant wooden guns and like, it's so bad, man. And it's funny because I don't know any better, because it's just the way I was taught by my buddy who, and I'm okay with that. But I'll tell you what, when I was down, in the tropics there, and we were using just 110 like hatch, just basic, I was like, wow, this is so easy. And doing that for like 4 months and then going back to some like monstrosity of a gun, really changes your perspective for sure.
That's why you got to use different gear. It's almost like you have a beer you like and you're drinking it for a couple of weeks and you haven't had any other kind of beer. And then you go back to another one that you like before and it tastes totally different to you again and new. Like, you need that like change of perspective even with your equipment. And that's what's so interesting to me. I've been lucky enough to travel around the world and spearfish in all kinds of places for the last couple decades. And so I got into like kind of like see completely different approaches and pick little things from them. And like the Tahitian spearfishermen, man, they're really good. There's some interesting stuff that I've got to pick up down there. Those guys are world class.
Well, with those guys too, I heard just from talking to guys, same thing, like with their diving techniques, even like, because, we started diving for dogtooth on those currents, and being from California, like I tell everybody, I am not a great free diver, because where I live, you don't have to be a great free diver. Everything's right at the thermocline. We're not punching like 90-foot dives to sit on the bottom of a reef. Like, so I had to, in the last few years, I had to get much better at it, because I was doing trips for work, like down to Guam and other places. And, but what I learned was talking to the Tahitians and how they do it with the currents and all that. They'll have one guy, I don't know if you've seen this, but like one guy will put his feet on another guy's shoulders while the guy breathes up, and the other guy is kicking him to keep him in place. So the guy's totally relaxed when he's breathing up. And you're like, dude, that's fucking teamwork. Like, that's impressive. And those guys are doing like past 100-foot dives. They're getting bent, I guess, during the you might have been there, I guess, during the games. What is it? The Pacific Island Games?
Inter-Pacific. Like, I think one of the Tahitian guys got bent at one of the interpacks. And then when they had the World Championships years ago, which was right at Chopo, actually, in Tahiti, guys got bent.
Yeah, it's like, so for some of the guys just starting out diving, spearfishing, thinking about, you're holding your breath, but you're diving so much, so deep, you're still getting bent. Like, that's pretty gnarly. And I know it can happen in shallower water too with other people, like depending on repetitive dives, but like, that was the first time I heard that. And that definitely, like, I'm like, I need to like pick these guys' brains. It's very humbling and really interesting, those guys, some of the techniques they come up with, depending on the environment they dive into.
Yeah, and a big part of that is the history down there. So if you look at human free diving in general. It's the progress back in the day was basically due to like market demand and being able to make a living off the ocean. A common person, if they could learn how to free dive deeper than everybody else, could access those murex shells in the Mediterranean. They could access pearls. Like the murex shells created the purple dye that was for royalty. So it was one of the best ways for a common fisherman to be able to climb a ladder that's otherwise impossible to climb and get himself into better financial situations. So there's lots of motivation there. And so while this was happening in the Mediterranean, it was happening also in French Polynesia for pearls, black pearls there as a currency and for the royalty. So they had been free diving, besides just being a Polynesian voyaging culture and all about the ocean, they had been free diving the great depths way longer than everybody else except for in the Mediterranean. And then when the first masks and fins, I believe, came out of France and then Japan, they had access to those things before we did in the United States because it's French Polynesia. So they have a giant leg up on the knowledge aspect, besides like the fish behavior knowledge, which is generational. So it's really interesting and cool to look at it from that perspective and just learn when I'm down there.
Well, I think, yeah, you bring up a good point, because you've mentioned it twice. You referred back to Hawaiian culture and Tahitian culture. And, I think the most underestimated thing, even in today's culture and being a white dude living, on the mainland, you got to know your history to understand how everything got to where it's going, or right, you're bound to repeat it, or you're just ignorant to what, you can't really go forward if you don't know where you came from, I guess, is the bottom line.
Exactly. And something that's so interesting is like we were talking before we got on about so these new big wave guns that I've been doing. I just posted something on my Instagram and they're really freaky looking. So this board looks very different from a traditional surfboard, but all those aspects in there have been tried at other times, like have been tried in super experimental phases in the 70s and 80s with surfboard design, and they just kind of didn't take then. And it's the same thing with spearfishing. You're looking at roller guns coming back, but roller guns have been around in Europe a long time. And how we were talking about stretch surfboards, quads, he brought quads to the forefront. He wasn't the guy who came up with quads. So I think if you need to know that history to go back and find the things that didn't really catch, because there's the odds that you're the first person to think of an idea because you are so smart are very low. That's what I've found for myself, at least. So at least save some time by learning the history.
Yeah, that happens at my job all the time. I joke around because I work with kind of newer technology and stuff, and it's I always joke around. I'm like, if one more motherfucker comes through that door and says he wants to do this for the first time, I'm gonna lose it on him. Like,
it's gonna be so disruptive.
Yeah, you're like, oh my God, man! Like, come on, we did that 6 months ago. Like, did anybody brief you like before you came here? Like, come on, man.
Yeah, we have a way of telling ourselves that we're more important and more brilliant than we actually are.
For sure. Yeah, the rollers thing, we were talking about Chris Coates before, and like I talked to him about the rollers thing because he was working with MJK and all the new roller thing, and then I built a roller because it just makes kind of sense as far as getting a longer band stretch, a longer stroke, like a motor from a smaller range, and then but then there's the other side of penetration and all that stuff. And you said you've been working with rollers. Like, what have you found like doing the roller thing?
I love the technology. I think it's not executed right in most guns. It seems like after kind of wrapping my head around it for a bit and using them, like it seems like a lot of people who are doing it, like it's not there. It's not where it should be. It's not something that you can half-ass with like cheaper components and stuff like that. Even even I was noticing on some guns, you know, just the actual roller wheel that's in there. I was like, why the hell did this thing? My gun was shooting like a laser, and you know, fast forward to 6 months, and it keeps shooting low left. What's the deal? What's the deal? Is it the shaft? Change shafts, change lines, and then finally go and just take the rubber off and spin the rollers, and one barely spins and the other one spins. So you're like, okay, they're pulling unevenly. So like there's just these different factors, and I think that the concept is great. It's less recoil, more distance, shorter gun, easier to maneuver, easier to travel with a smaller gun. But the execution of it has been really tough. And I've been messaging back and forth with Chris Coates, kind of like trying to troubleshoot things a lot, because that guy is such a wealth of information. I actually just got into he has a YouTube video about splicing hollow core spectra or Dyneema to make your shooting lines. So I got into that. I bought that stuff, and I'm doing that on all my guns now. It's nice. You don't have a crimp anymore. And, you know, like your monofilament loop always ends up getting warped and, you know, kicking off to a side weird after you shoot a few fish. And you figure, especially if it ends up, your mono wraps up, you got all these kinks there. You know, like that has to affect the efficiency and flight of your shaft. So
I literally just ordered that line 2 days ago after talking to him.
Yeah.
The hollow. Yeah. For that reason. Because I like to use Dyneema too. Just because it was like a happy medium. And I try to want to eliminate crimping or human error as least as possible, as much as possible. And the same thing with the roller guns, where my initial reaction was like, there's just a lot more shit to go wrong on my roller gun. So I try to keep it super simple, because if you're in the middle of nowhere and something goes wrong, like now you might be able to jerry rig something up to where you can turn it into a traditional gun, but you know, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, that's always my biggest fear, because I travel so much, and it's like I try to go to the furthest away places I possibly can. So I have to have stuff that I can fix. And that's always been my aversion to rollers. That's why it took me like 2 years longer than it probably should have to start kind of taking a good look at it. But they're definitely getting there. I mean, like I have a aim right 120 single roller, which I've loved that gun. It's super well balanced. Was looking at playing around with multiple band roller guns.
The inverted roller, or?
Well, I had no, just not the inverted. Well, I haven't done the inverted roller. So this is like the next step in my stubborn way of thinking breaking down, because I got a buddy, Trevor Bacon. He's from New York, and we've done a bunch of pretty awesome spearfishing trips, like to Panama and Fiji and stuff, and shooting big fish. And he's got the Alamanis, and I was like, dude, those things look so complicated. Like, how the hell are you gonna fix it if something goes wrong? And I was like, would always make fun of him for it, because there's just so much going on. It looks like you wouldn't be able to move this gun in the water with how much rubber is on it. And he's like, just try it. So over the course of a couple more trips, I shot it a bit, and I was like, oh my God, this gun is absolutely amazing. So I finally broke down, and I'm like, I can't keep lugging a giant piece of lumber around the world because of weight restrictions. You're going to be able to bring less shafts with you. And just the recoil of shooting a big gun. If I haven't shot a giant 4-band blue water gun in a long time, it takes me 2 days on a trip to like recalibrate how to aim with the thing and shoot with it, to where now I just called up Alamani and was like, here you go, whatever, $2,700.
This is $3,000 later.
I'm not losing another giant fish again. Yeah, it will be my fault if I lose it.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because my 60-inch one that I made, the double roller, like I didn't know shit other than reading a bunch of stuff about it. And I remember firing that thing on a dog tooth with one hand, which I would have never dreamed of, with my regular wooden gun. And that thing's like a laser. And that kind of sold me on that gun. The only issue with those guns is like loading it. It's like a 2-stage loading thing. So you're literally like flipping it over, loading it takes time. And once you load that thing, I find it does make you a more selective diver.
Yeah. Exactly. But you know what, we started like timing each other, like how long it takes to load, like say one of the Alamani like 135 Vela compared to like a Rife Blue Water Elite, and it actually takes about the same amount of time. And the thing is, my friend wasn't beating himself up as much because you're not loading as much power every time.
That's a
Where
great point.
it's like, you're like, everyone's hard. You got to get it up to your chest. He's hip loading it, almost everything. And the only things that are chest loaded are when they're already on the sissy tab, and you can just knock it right back easily. So that I realized that was kind of a mental block of mine. And when we actually looked at the times, I was like, oh man, it's about the same.
That's a solid point though about the loading them. As far as straining yourself every time, because I'm always like, sometimes on my boat I'm like the all-time loader for tuna, for bluefin or whatever, just being taller so I can grab it and like. But I mean, you get welts on your body, after a while. So yeah, that'd be nice. That's a good point.
Yeah, it gets.
Yeah, I guess
old.
I never thought about that. Yeah.
But you know what is a total pain in the butt about those blue water kind of rollers is having that loading hook that you put around your wrist. That thing gets hot on everything. It's like, it just pisses me off all day long. Even if I tuck it into my wetsuit, have it on my belt, it always comes out. And it's one of those little hook things that is like, it hooks on. Oh, it's on my tag line. It's on my shooting line. It's getting wrapped up in this or that. It just makes me crazy.
The load assist you're talking about, right?
Yeah, the load assist.
Yeah. When I made my gun, I designed it purposely so I don't have to carry extra that thing. So I was trying to like get the band length, so when I load it, I can reach it like where the second stage or the first stage is on the bottom, where basically the line release would be. I can put the band on that and still grab it and pull it back and then flip it over enough, so I don't have to use one of those things, because I hate having stuff on me diving. Like, it's so counterproductive, and I always have a fear of getting stuck on the bottom, like something in there I don't know what the hell it is, Anyways, yeah. Well, that kind of leads me, you talk about traveling, like where are some places your top, like the coolest places you've been? I know Guadalupe Island, I saw that footage a long time ago with Brandon. That was incredible. I guess for my own personal enjoyment, can you shed some light on that? How was that?
Oh, Guadalupe was amazing. It's stressful though. It's not relaxing diving, that is for sure. But yeah, we went there to help. Myself and Brandon Wallers went there to help with this great white shark documentary that was being filmed out there. This was some years ago, and yeah, we ended up being able to spearfish there. They wanted a shot of a great white shark taking a tuna off a spear, not bothering the diver, which is kind of crazy. Which never happened, but yeah, it's an amazing place. Like, I wouldn't recommend it to people. I think you can only play that game for so long before something bad happens. And while we were there, we just me and Brandon were like, all right, we gotta like make an agreement. No diving before 9:30 a.m. No diving past 2 p.m. If murk rolls in on the current, we're out of the water, things like that. But still, you're just head on a swivel, and dive in some of the deeper spots. At a certain point in the water column, when you're halfway up, you can't see the bottom and you can't see the top, and you just feel so vulnerable. And what I started doing, because you can't be looking everywhere at once, I would just watch Brandon's body language on the surface. I'm like, man, if he gets jerky, I need to start looking around real fast because something showed up.
Was that when he shot that world record yellowtail, or that was before that?
Yeah, I watched him do it. He shot that fish right in front of me. I just shot a tuna yellowfin, probably like 130-pound one, and that was like a crazy fiasco to get that fish. I thought I was going to get killed by a white shark doing that. And then, went back, got it on we had like an 8-foot inflatable dinghy, and then those yellowtail came in, and he blasted it. I was like, That fish would have been so much bigger too. It was so skinny. It had spawned out and it had zero food in its stomach. It was like absolutely empty. So for it to weigh that much, even that skinny, was pretty crazy. It probably should have been about 6 pounds heavier.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. I mean, I know what it's like to see bigger fish than you're used to, like species. I can't imagine what his mindset was like. He's down there, and it's like you just do one of those double takes. Like, is that a yellowfin tuna, or is that a yellow tail? Like that thing is massive.
Actually, you know what? That yellow, because we had tuna coming around, and there's kind of a lot of big yellowtail around. Although this one was a lot bigger than the rest. That fish was with 2 others, and it had already swam past us like 3 times before he decided to shoot it. So it was kind of like, oh, you're still around. Yeah.
Yeah, and
it's kind of the opposite, which is funny because it swam right under me, and I was like, I just got this tuna. I don't know. And then he shot it.
Well, I don't even think. I think you're not even allowed to dive there anymore, though. I think
That's what I heard.
The Mexican government. Yeah, but there's other places that I kind of have my eye on too this year. Until this ban gets lifted, I'm gonna bounce and try to check it out. But I also remember reading, like, I don't know which one of you, but I think because I've discovered this for myself, but the sharks, they were so selective. If you shot like a yellowtail, they wouldn't go for the yellowtail, but as soon as you shot a tuna, they would blast the tuna. Is that true?
Yeah, they didn't like yellowtails.
Good.
Even
That's
the
good.
bait around the boat, if you caught them on a sabiki and you brained one and threw it in the water, the sharks loved those. They'd come up and eat those little snacks, but they never liked yellowtail.
That's so interesting. Have you seen that elsewhere as well, like when you travel?
Yeah, sharks will be like, for instance, those red bass that you would see down in the Guam kind of Marianas area, the one with the white spot by its tail. They have ciguatera a lot. So it's like a big red snapper. Sharks usually don't like
mangrove snapper. Yeah.
It's not the mangrove snapper, because the mangrove snapper is actually good eating. The other one is like the most ciguatera-ridden fish in the ocean, apparently. But the sharks don't.
I think it's
like
tagafi. The Chamorros call it tagafi, I think. I don't know. I'm not sure. And I could be wrong. But I think I know what you're talking about. They're massive, and we're like, why are they so big? Because nobody eats them. Like,
yeah, and they got big teeth, and they'll be the first to show up if you chum, and they'll just sit down there and eat all of your chum. But yeah, the sharks don't really. They got to be desperate or in a really competitive feeding mode to even touch that. I learned that it was a waste of time to chum that, because even the dogtooth tuna won't give them the time of day either. I guess they just know.
Rainbow runners, though, on the other hand, like
everybody
found
likes
that rainbow runners. It's terrible, man. So where else have you been that you kind of like plan to go back to, or Fiji? You mentioned Fiji, or just anywhere like particular that you really enjoyed personally.
I mean, I love Fiji, love French Polynesia. Both of those places I probably spent a year at each collectively throughout my life. So just have a lot of great friends, and they're amazing places, and there's just so many islands you can explore forever. Yeah, I mean, I want to go everywhere. I'm actually, something that I've been thinking of, because I have some great friends in like Northern Africa. I thought that would be a pretty cool spearfishing trip to do, and we'll see, as this YouTube channel that I'm launching the next week, if it progresses, I can go and do those trips and hopefully bust out some good content for people.
What part of Northern Africa, if you don't, region, I guess?
I mean, that whole like Morocco, Sahara area is interesting. I mean, the water doesn't get very clear or anything, but it's just so different, Yeah.
Fortunately, like, because I was a military contractor for a long time, and you would go to these places where nobody really goes to for whatever reason, or just kind of rare. You end up somewhere, and it was cool because being a diver, I'm like, dude, nobody's been here. Like, I want to check this out. And half the time you didn't have any of your stuff with you. But I know like a few places where it was like, holy shit. Like, this is the fishiest place, and they've never seen a diver before in their life. It's just not the safest place to be, you know. Um, but they are out there. Um,
Yeah, they
I
are.
was like, I did it this morning. I did it this morning where I was like, I was looking at America Samoa for surfing and like diving. I was talking to a friend about that. And then I looked, there's a little atoll, and it's like, how do you get to these places? I imagine you got to jump in on these places, and there's probably a giant grouper in every hole, you know?
Oh yeah, and but the interesting thing is when you're like going and looking for locations, especially in the South Pacific, is that there's so many illegal long line fleets and people who come from Asia and even other places in Micronesia and stuff. And when they show up to islands, they take everything. Like they take all the sharks, they take all the fins, they take all the turtle eggs, they take every starfish to dry and sell to be in your candle from Bed Bath and Beyond. They take every coconut crab off the island. Like, they literally come in and devastate these areas. So I have been to places that are super remote, and you're like, this should be amazing, and it's not. So it's like trying to figure out where those little gray areas are to where it doesn't there's enough of like infrastructure in that country at that area to have it patrolled every now and then, or if it just doesn't make sense because of fuel cost for them to go to these places. But then, there's a reason why they don't go and hit it. It's hard to get to, and it's time consuming, and you got to figure it out. So it's never easy to find those zones.
That's the best part, though, is like, because it's not easy. I don't know. I get a big satisfaction out of that stuff, like you saying, though, it's crazy because I remember being in places and I pull up my marine traffic app and you zoom out and you're in the middle of nowhere and you zoom out and it's all Asian like fishing boats or like all around the island. And exactly what you're saying. Like, the more you get involved in stuff, you realize, and it goes back to your first thing about equipment and teaching people to enjoy the ocean. And I have something on my website too where it's like, I want to enhance people's enjoyment in the ocean so that they too can care about it. Because when you have a good time in the ocean, like you do, and you're traveling all these places, you get wise to the fact of like, what's normal, what's not, what's the issues. And other than just kind of have your head in the sand because you don't know, because you're naive. But like, you go to these places and you realize like, dude, this is really messed up. Like, nobody knows about this. Like, yeah.
It's crazy, and you get angry about it, and that makes you want to do something.
Yeah, no, that's actually why I asked, about the conservation stuff, because we have a project going on right now. I won't spill the beans quite yet, but it's all based on conservation. But like from an educated standpoint, not a political agenda, because some of those things are so political too. Like, I talked to Daniel Mann about this too, and he offline, and he was like, as far as the science goes, like, that's kind of a joke, because like the guys doing the research never even spent a day in the water their lives, and they're just going off of sample size and and they have no idea. He's like, we dove on one spot and there was not a fish, and the lead scientist is like, this is dead. We went back at high tide. He's like, well, let's go dive the same spot at high tide. Like, hold on. And so they did it like at golden hour at night, and it was loaded with sharks and fish and everything. And he's like, and these are the people that are making these decisions or passing this data off to make decisions on things, and they don't know what the hell they're doing.
Completely.
So that's kind of like what, yeah.
And even like some of the conservation or marine sciences things I've been involved with, it's just so funny, because somebody will be like, have spent years gathering data and trying to figure out how to prove something that you could ask any person in that village or in that fishing town. Everybody already knows it. So why are you spending all this time and resources trying to prove something that everybody already friggin' knows already? You should have just went and talked to somebody and found out what they don't even know and started at that point. But it's like, it's such a weird game with grants and trying to get money and, you know, egos at play, even in the conservation and scientific community, that things get convoluted really fast. And that's why I kind of always was interested in the idea of, like, you know, you find those people who have the education, the credentials, the know-how, and connect them with the capable people within, like, the ocean spearfishing fishing communities. And, like, I think those groups that are kind of overlapping of the two circles in the chart, those are going to be the most effective.
That's kind of what we're working on too, and going along that lines, I have friends that are professors in marine science and they're spearfishermen, and it's like, dude, you don't understand what a powerful person you are, because you know what the hell is going, you know, you have the total package that's like essential. Yeah, it's an interesting time because it's becoming more and more prevalent. For example, here in Southern California, they closed all the recreational fishing, which I'm not against closing things if you have a plan to reopen it. Like, it's cool. I'll go, you know, the bigger picture, I get it. Like, I'll go shift my behavior and dive this spot. But when you close things to close things and you don't have a plan how you're going to reopen them up, or you don't have like, that's what I have a problem with. Like, because, for example, for us, it's La Jolla has been closed off forever. Cool. It's a marine place. Cool. It's loaded with fish. It's a great place to introduce kids to the ocean because you have all these giant calico bass and everything. It's cool. But if they were ever going to reopen that and close another area, I can't imagine the massacre that would happen if they reopened that place, because you'd have all these fish get wiped out in a matter of weeks because they have no, you know, generations of not learning how to, you know, a diver's not a good thing, you know? So I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. And I think there's a real danger in how a lot of people want to do, kind of have like these blanket policies. Like, it's so location specific, you know, based on how much population there is there, based on how much currents. Like, if it's a place that's sweeping a lot of current, so a lot of fertilized egg from that protected population to other areas, then maybe it is worth permanently keeping, you know, closed, because it is helping regenerate populations in places where people can take fish. But it's like these stupid rules that are just kind of blanketed. I mean, that's where we need more cooperation in between, like, the recreational, subsistence, and scientific community, is we make sure that the rules make sense, because for the most part, we probably want fish around more than anybody else. But
right,
it's also within our community. It's like we have to regulate our own community, because there's a lot of people that make us all look bad. All it takes is a couple of ding-dongs doing stupid stuff. So it's like we can't give people on a reason to discredit us, you know. And I think that needs to be taken a lot more seriously within, like, the spearfishing community.
Yeah, that was one of the things I tried to do I posted something on Instagram where it was like a sheep's head, and I fortunately have the luxury of my job kind of helps out my recreational activities. So, like, I know where all these little reefs are, these little, you know, artificial reefs or whatever, and I'll dive on them. And it's such a small population of fish where you take one fish out, it could have a drastic impact. So I shot a sheep's head, which that has a big impact on a reef because it affects the whole population. Whatever, I did a big write-up on it. Basically, like, the understanding more about the fish you're taking and understanding your impact on what you do, you've got to understand that. You need to understand, okay, if I do this, what is the impact going to be, in order to, like, we just can't be, I guess, as much shit as we talk about conservation, we can't be the one to be like, conservation, check out this gigantic, like, you know, whatever fish. Like, like I saw probably like a 10-pound sand bass the other day. Not a big deal. Like, that's a big deal, 10-pound sand bass at that same spot. And I didn't shoot it because I thought about that exact thing. This fish lays exponentially more eggs than any other of these, smaller fish. Do I
Yep.
feel like a douchebag, basically, if I say, conservation, check out this one that I just took out, like this, and again, it's a bottom fish, right?
Yeah, and it comes down to people taking the time to educate themselves on fish species and life cycle, which is like, it's going to help you become a better hunter because you're going to know the behaviors better. It's going to make your whole experience more interesting because you have more knowledge about the species. But also it's like, okay, yeah, if I took this fish from this area, like, I'm not going to take another one from this area for months,
Right.
Like, oh, okay, I see some juveniles that are coming up that are like right almost to the level of this guy. So I'll leave it for months and there's going to be a bunch of them. So that's kind of thing. And like rotating spots, I just try to really rotate spots as much as I can and not beat anything up too bad, which I don't take that much anyways, usually, unless there's a baby luau or a wedding or a funeral, then you kind of take more than usual.
Yeah. So kind of moving on, kind of wrap things up, I guess. I don't want to take any more of your time. But do you have any tips for like beginners, intermediate, and advanced divers, like different tips for like different levels? Because I know on the Aki podcast, you said something about when you reach your plateau, you need to start doing some body work. And I was curious, what exactly like diaphragm stretches, like specifically what body work were you talking about?
Yeah, I mean, once I personally, I can talk about what has helped me because I definitely plateau and I see a certain range of diving to where like I start losing the endurance. So it's like, especially like the deeper dive days, you do X amount of dives over 100 feet in current and I get kind of burnt and I can see my dive times going down and down and down. And then I just move into shallower water. But yeah, that flexibility. So it's like those diaphragm stretches, those lung stretches, all that stuff that comes from the strictly free dive community, yoga, big help. And then just like your cardio, because I got like little baby chicken legs. I got the full surfer build. So like my muscle's not efficient enough right now. Like I have to go and do more bike riding, more running and stuff like that. Like bulk isn't going to help you, but having your muscles able to process out that lactic acid more efficiently is going to help a lot. And diet helps for a lot of people. My buddy Justin Lee from over on Big Island, like one of the best divers in the world for sure.
Yep.
He's really really good, and good with the deep stuff too. He's been working with a scientist about the diet aspect of it and just tracking his improvement, and he keeps showing me his stuff, and his performance is getting way better. And that he's like another good example of a guy who really knows where like his plateau limit is because he's pushed it for so long that he knows like, okay, something has to change to get my performance past this point. So he's seeing a lot of benefit from the diet aspect. He has a different metabolism than me. He's a monk seal. I'm a skinny guy. So I don't know if the diet's going to affect me as much.
Okay.
But those are things to look into.
No, it's funny. Yeah, I have my plateau. I know what it is, and it's like I was curious because I found out for me it was like, okay, diaphragm stretches, lung stretches. Anytime I go, past 75 feet, like I have a tendency to get throat squeezes or whatever, and it was because it's kind of new to me to go past that depth and start going deeper and deeper and deeper. And I am not very flexible at all. I was a college football player. Like, I don't know, I just never stretched until as I've gotten older, I realized too, stretching is a necessity if you want to keep doing the things that you want to do, that you like to do. So I wanted to get your input on the stuff. I know you're a pretty deep diver.
It's like you got to drop that dumb freaking idea, kind of the way we were talking about surfing in that, like, you have to look like a different style or a certain style and wear certain clothes, and you think that's surfing. It's not. It's the same thing. It's like, so it's way different now, but so many guys are like, yoga, I'm not doing yoga. I'm like, yeah, go in that class. See that grandmother go rule you. You'll be quivering like a bitch. And there will be a 75-year-old grandmother absolutely dominating you. Like, yoga helps everything.
It does. I I would go overseas for months at a time, and like we would lift, and all the meeting heads is like very alpha male centric like society, so to speak. And and I'd start to lift, and then I realized like I'm not 20 anymore, and like why the hell do I want to put all this weight on me? And I get back and I can't even surf or paddle because I feel like a goddamn gorilla. And so I went back another time overseas, and it was like, okay, I'm gonna do yoga. As embarrassing as I will be, I'm gonna do yoga and try it. And what I found is all those little aches and pains when I did yoga went away. Like literally, like I could still do all the the tempo of working out that I like to do, but I mean, obviously I changed the way I work out. I don't try to lift heavy or any of that stuff anymore. I just want it for diving. I just want conditioning, but yeah, yoga totally changed my life. I'm not good at it at all, but I know when I have anything that's irritating me, I just go do some stretches and a little thing, and it changes your life for sure, hands down. Especially for the older guys that want to keep doing the stuff like they were doing when they're younger, you got to do yoga for sure. All right. So do you have any future plans for this year?
God, kind of playing everything by ear right now. Just working on projects, and as far as like creating more videos and content, I'm going to start collaborating on some products and things like that. I can definitely keep myself busy. Besides that, I would love to take my bow and get outer island once things calm down, and go get some axis deer meat.
Oh yeah, I've heard about that. Yeah. Right on.
That's the big plans.
Well, awesome. Again, Mark, really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to share some of your stuff with me and the rest of us. Super humbled to be talking to you. Always looked up to you, even as I'm older than you, I think. But I remember like watching you paddle out in between one of the heats at Pipe when I think I was a teenager, and I was like, "Who's that kid?" Like, there's a kid paddling out a pipe, and I think it was even you. I don't remember. This is years ago, and I was like, "What the hell?" Like, I think you might have been 12 or something. I don't know.
Could have been.
And then seeing that, and like it really changed my perspective being a California kid and seeing like overhead waves. Wow. And then seeing guys like you go out and charge, and then, and then fast forward 20 years later, that wave you caught out of Puerto Escondido that was insane. 40-foot beach break. I mean, come on, man. That was awesome.
A scary day. Well, thanks, man. I really appreciate it.
No, it's awesome. I love what you're doing. Keep doing it. It's awesome and it's unique, and it's a real gift, I think, to all of us that love the water. All the watermen out there, you're a great example of what to look up to. So thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks. I really appreciate it, and keep up the good work on this, and kind of connecting the spearfishing community and talking about things. And that's what I'd say is, like, you don't have to fit into some mold. You don't have to do some goofy picture with your fish when you shoot it and pour a beer down its throat and like try to be like everybody else. Like, enjoy it for what it is, do things your way, and just try to spread knowledge and get other people excited and introduced to the ocean, and give back, because we can't just keep taking. There has to be aspects of giving back. Got to achieve balance, but enjoy the water, people.
That's a great point. Yeah, that's a great point, man. It's all about that. So thank you, Mark.